Want to bring in Kylee Zempel. She is the assistant editor at the Federalist, comes to us from Washington, D.C. Now, I wanted a younger American. Kylee, I think you fit into that category of a younger American because I'm appalled by this assault on freedom of speech, this cancel culture, this virtue signaling. Are you as disturbed as I am?
It's absolutely egregious. And I think that was most evident with the Goya example that you just mentioned. The fact that you can have a Spanish American CEO of the nation's second largest Hispanic owned food company be canceled over the seemingly unforgivable sin of saying something that's mildly positive about the duly elected president of the United States is just so backward that's the standard of being canceled. And this wasn't some small, random Twitter mob that came for Mr. Unanue. This was prominent politicians such as AOC and Julian Castro coming after him. The fact that someone like Unanue can be canceled by people like that for something so innocuous is just truly egregious. And something that I think that's especially worth noting in this instance is that since it's specific to Donald Trump, just looking ahead to how it's going to affect 2020, I mean, in 2016, we watched this silent majority come out in droves and elect President Donald Trump to the shock of the nation. And I think it's logical to see this correlation between cancel culture and the silent majority, that as cancel culture grows, so grows the silent majority.
There will be a backlash. I wrote a column on it.
People who are afraid.
Yeah, I wrote a column on it, but it hasn't appeared so far in great numbers. Our campaign, Stand Up for Your Country, has taken off. So I know what you're saying is true. I just don't know when it's going to happen. And it may be diminished by the COVID fear. But once you get into a media mob, so you have two mobs. You have the Twitter mob, all right, that goes after anybody on the right or conservatives or Republicans. You have that mob. But then you have the corporate media mob that enables all this, doesn't protest against it, pays the haters, as I pointed out, a nice wage. Go ahead and hate more. I mean, Joy Behar. Is there a bigger hater in the country on television than Joy Behar? I don't think so. Joy Behar couldn't exist on the right. Couldn't exist. Disney would never pay her. Yet they pay Miss Behar to hate every day on national television. So that's the difference, Kylee. So we didn't have the corporate media, even during the Vietnam War days, pushing the cancel culture virtue signaling. We didn't have it. Big difference.
Well, and there's just no limiting principle. I mean, where does it end? So it's not just canceling overt, instances of racism. We've seen cancel culture come for something as innocuous as a children's animated cartoon television program. You saw them come for Paw Patrol because it glorifies police officers by having a police pup. Where is the logic in that? Where is the limiting principle in that? There just simply is none. Nothing is too small to cancel.
And you have the Hollywood nitwits on board with it. Now, I think their influence is diminishing. I do. It's more of the mob in the media, which now sets people up for cancellation. So there's a media, Media Matters, right, Kylee?
Yes.
Okay, so what they do is they research way back 10, 20 years, trying to find something that any person they don't like might have said. And then they bring it to the fore. Now, some of that is overlap to liberal people, like Jimmy Fallon and people like that. They have gotten it, Jimmy Kimmel, because the mob is so frenzied now, they're knocking down statues of U.S. Grant and Frederick Douglass. I mean, this is how out of control it is. Do you see any hope that this cancel culture will be struck down at any point?
Well, I mentioned the silent majority, and I think that that would be something that would maybe cause a light bulb to go off, but it certainly didn't happen in 2016. I don't have a whole lot of hope that cancel culture will be easily turned around. Even as the cancelers have been canceled, that hasn't seemed to do it. Really, I think the most dangerous thing about cancel culture is that it leaves no room for growth. It leaves no room for a reform of ideas. The fact that a person can today hold a more equitable and a more just position than some prejudiced position they held in the past, and that an entity such as Media Matters or an individual in cancel culture can come for them and dig up something that they've said in the past that they no longer believe, maybe even something that they've said in their adolescence, and use it to completely destroy their livelihood or their future or their job opportunities is really just absolutely tragic. And when we exchange grace for outrage and true virtue for virtue signaling, that is a deadly prognosis for a society. And I don't know how you come back from that.
Well, I think if Donald Trump wins the election in November, there's going to be a counterattack on this whole culture. But if Joe Biden wins, the culture then will feel emboldened, and it will get even worse. Kylee, thanks very much. We really appreciate it.